Minister, we're going to finish hopefully at 3:15, but I just want to ask short questions to you. Some time ago, we had a hearing, and we listened to the case being made by the EBS, AIB, EBS tied agents, and that gallery was full of those agents. Since then, some of those agents have passed away, but the issue trundles on. And is there any way within this legislation that the likes of AIB and the tied agents issue, if it were to arise again, or indeed retrospectively in the case of EBS, should be dealt with? Because there is no doubt in my mind, having listened to them and read the various papers on the issue, that the bank is just not willing to move one way or the other and has it tied up in court.
So, Chairperson, I'm not sufficiently informed on that issue to give you the kind of answer that you deserve on it. And what I'll do is, after the meeting, I'm going to consult with my officials on the issue that you've raised, and I'll give you a response in writing on the issue by the end of the week. Okay,
thank you. By the way, I'm not bothering you with something that's a mundane issue. It isn't. No. It is a real serious issue, and it's a terrible bad reflection on AIB.
Yeah.
Can I ask your opinion of a banking forum? I mentioned this in the Dáil previously. In line with the legislation and what's going on generally in banks now and the change of the landscape, do you see a banking forum as being something worthwhile that maybe could be established through your department for a short period of time or medium period of time that would, report back to you on how the stakeholders of all kinds see the landscape for the future?
So, very shortly, I'll be bringing to government a recommendation for a review and reassessment of banking policy for our country, given the many different issues that you've just touched on yourself. And as part of that process, I am going to invite submissions from different stakeholders to hear their views in relation to the future of Irish banking. To be really explicit with you, am I going to create a forum to lead to the development of policy? Not planning to do that, because I think the setting of policy should be something that sits purely with the government and the Minister for Finance in this area. But I am going to announce a review, and as part of that review, I am going to invite submissions from stakeholders on the issues they've raised and consider them carefully.
I'll push you a little bit on the banking forum to say that I'm not talking about a permanent banking forum that would, continue to roll on. I'm talking about a banking forum made up of all stakeholders that would make a contribution verbally in front of, and make a statement maybe together afterwards, relative to the legislation and feeding into the legislation. Now, you may say that written submissions are just as well, but I just thought that there's such changes going on right from the bottom up, from the money lender right to the commercial banking sector, that it would be helpful, and I'm just putting it before you again. My next question is in relation to the report this week, which may have been framed differently than what is actually happening, but cuckoo funds and the funds generally, and the Minister going on tour to attract them to the country. What do you make of that?
So I'm not going on any tour, Chairman. In Housing for All, there is an action step against that to look at what kind of engagement can happen that might lead to more homes being built in Ireland. And the reason why funds can play a role in the delivery of more homes here in Ireland, it is a way of channeling savings in other countries into more homes in Ireland, and that's it. And as part of Housing for All, it's been suggested that I engage with how that can happen, and I have no such engagements planned, but it is an action step in Housing for All.
Well, just to alert you, and I'm sure you're well aware of the public disquiet around vulture funds and how they acted and how they continue to act against individuals that are caught in a bad mortgage or a bad loan situation. And I think that something like that, in terms of attracting them in to Ireland, has to be treated exceptionally carefully.
It will be.
Because we do not want any more of the carry-on that we saw with the vulture funds during the course of the crisis. The last thing I wanted to say to you is, because you mentioned the tracker mortgage issue, for the vast majority of those involved in the tracker mortgage issue, their individual cases have been dealt with. But we heard recently from Tony Lawler, who was an individual with a difficulty with Bank of Ireland. Now, he was before us, so the name is public, and he made his case and so on. And there are cases like his that still linger on in the banks with little or no outcome, with the bank just taking a position to beat down the client and to not to give him a fair hearing, or if there's a hearing given, it's given within the bank itself. So it's not a totally independent situation. Now, and I'm talking about legitimate, proper problems that individuals are having. I'm not talking about people that are deliberately trying to avoid it. This man is not trying to avoid it. And we've done everything here to highlight the case and other cases with AIB and Bank of Ireland with little or no traction, or maybe a little traction and no outcome. I'm just wondering, in your meetings with the bank, would you ever tell them to prioritise those cases that are on the long finger and try to get them dealt with in the most humane manner possible?
Did Mr. Lawler go to the Ombudsman?
Yeah, he's been exercising all of this. Now, you know, I respect the fact that you don't deal with individual cases. I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking that you would emphasise with the banks that it's high time that any of those cases that are lingering on should be dealt with. Because what you get from the bank is you get an acknowledgement of the case being before them. And it could be for 5 years thereafter, you will get a letter from the bank to say, I'm sorry about the delay, it's taking some time, but we're still examining your query or your complaint. So it goes on and on and on. And the individual on the other end is not only getting older, but they're having to carry the stress and the trauma and everything that means with them in their lives. And there can't be that many cases. So similar to the EBS, it's time for these banks to draw a line under the cases and to use their common sense and decency, if they have any decency left, to approach these cases and sort them. And I'm just again asking if you wouldn't mind saying to the banks to not get rid of, but to deal with the cases in a sympathetic manner.
Chairman, I'll get briefed on the circumstances of the individual that was in front of your committee, and of course I'll see what the status of this is with our banks. But I do have to recognise the fact that the central bank has been through this as an issue now, that our ombudsman has played a very active role in this as well, and I can't second guess or undermine the judgment or views they've reached in relation to that matter. And then, just as you were introducing this question, you made reference to funds and the role they played in Ireland with the acquisition of loan books and distressed loans in our recent past. Just to frame this really clearly, this is a different matter. The issue that is referred to in Housing for All is all about how new homes can be built. It's not about the issue that I know you're very concerned about, and I have been too, regarding how we can support and protect those who found out that their loans have been purchased. They're two different matters, but I am aware, of course, of the concern that many do have regarding the operation of funds and larger investors within our country. But I just conclude by saying that any role they play has also to be seen in the light of the government commitment to housing that for this year's budget was €6 billion. Looking to build homes directly ourselves, looking to lead to homes being built through approved housing bodies, and many initiatives that Minister Darragh O'Brien is implementing.